So there's this supplement out there called Mitolyn, and boy, is it making some huge promises. We're talking about unlocking your metabolism, triggering major weight loss, and getting all your energy back. But what's the actual story behind all the hype? Today, we're going to break down the exact narrative the company uses, from their marketing right down to their customer reviews. And it always kicks off with powerful stories just like this one from a customer named Connie. Dropping 40 pounds, having the energy to keep up with her kids. I mean, this is the core promise, right? These aren't just reviews. They're really the emotional engine that drives the whole brand. Okay, so that's the promise. But how do they claim to pull it off? We're going to deconstruct their entire story, piece by piece, starting with the scientific discovery they say is at the heart of it all, and taking it all the way to the ingredients inside the bottle. You know, the whole story behind Mitolyn really boils down to one single, really powerful claim, a brand new scientific discovery. So if you go on their website, they talk about this study of 1,700 people, and they say it uncovered this one thing, this single common factor that was present in every single overweight person they looked at, low levels of something called mitochondria. So you might be asking, what exactly are mitochondria? Well, the source material calls them the little engines inside our cells. They're the things responsible for taking the food we eat and our stored body fat and turning it into energy. The energy our bodies need to do, well, literally everything. And this is where their whole argument gets super simple. The claim is really direct. People who are overweight have low levels of mitochondria, and people who are slim have high levels. In their story, the more of these cellular engines you have, the more fat you're going to burn, and this is the central problem that Mitolyn claims it's here to solve. All right, so if that's the problem, low mitochondria, then what's the fix? Well, this brings us to their big marketing idea. What they call it is the mitochondrial reset mechanism. And you gotta admit, it's a catchy phrase, right? It suggests something fundamental is happening at a cellular level, not just some temporary boost. It sounds like you're literally rebooting your body's entire energy system. Now, if you dig a little deeper, one of the review documents actually breaks this whole reset thing down into 4 key stages. First up, actually creating new mitochondria. Then, stage 2 is all about making them better at turning fat into fuel. After that, stage 3 is about recalibrating important hormones like insulin. And finally, you got stage 4, protecting those little engines from stress. It's really framed as a total system overhaul. Okay, so that's the theory. But what are they actually putting in the bottle to make all this happen? Let's take a look inside the formula. All right, the first ingredient that really jumps out has a name that's, well, it's a mouthful. Pyrrolquinoline quinone. Yeah, let's just stick with PQQ. And the way they describe PQQ's job is actually pretty cool. They call it the mitochondrial spark plug. Its whole purpose is to fire up that first stage of the reset we just talked about, creating brand new cellular engines to burn more fat. Okay, next on the list is something you've probably heard about if you follow health trends at all, berberine. And what's berberine's big job? Well, they claim it activates what they call the metabolic master switch, something called AMPK. The idea is when you flip that switch, you're telling your body, hey, stop storing fat and start burning it for energy. But it's not just those two. The formula also has a whole team of other well-known ingredients working together. You've got L-carnitine to help transport fat, CoQ10 for energy conversion, resveratrol for protection, and even magnesium glycinate to help with that final energy output. The whole idea is that they're all working in concert, synergistically. Okay, so you've got the supposed science, you've got the formula, but what's the actual experience supposed to be like for you? Well, the sources lay out a pretty specific timeline for users. They break it down into a 90-day journey. It all starts with the first couple of weeks, what they call the ignition phase, which is all about priming your cells. Then you move into the activation stage, from weeks 3 to 6, which is when they say you start to see real, visible results. And then the home stretch, from week 7 to 12, is the transformation phase, where the full effects are supposed to get locked in for good. And after that whole 90-day journey, what are the results they're claiming? Well, the review documents point to a pretty eye-popping number, an over 85% satisfaction rate for people who stick with it for the full 3 months. But of course, not everyone is happy. If you look around online, you're going to find complaints, you're going to find people who are skeptical. So how does the company handle all that? And what's really interesting is that their materials don't just ignore the bad reviews. Nope,
They face them head on. And they use a pretty classic marketing playbook to build this counter-narrative, one that explains away all those negative experiences.
And here it is, the absolute cornerstone of their explanation for any negative feedback. According to these documents, pretty much every single complaint, whether it's "it didn't work" or "I had side effects" or even "I couldn't get my money back," they all get blamed on one thing and one thing only: people buying fake, counterfeit versions from unauthorized sellers online.
So that leads them to their main line of defense. The only way to get the real deal, the actual product that works and is guaranteed, is by buying it directly from their official website. Everything else out there, they're basically saying it's a risky, potentially dangerous fake.
And to show that they really stand behind the authentic product, they push one number really, really hard: 90. That's for their 90-day, no questions asked money-back guarantee. They frame it as the ultimate proof that they're confident in their product, but again, only if you buy it from the right place. So, from this idea of a mitochondrial reset, all the way to a story that blames counterfeit products for any and all failures, the way Mitolyn is marketed is a pretty fascinating look at how wellness products are sold today. And it really leaves you with a bigger question to think about. As science keeps digging deeper and deeper inside our own cells for answers, what does the future of our health and wellness really truly look like?